Thank you for joining us again here on another episode of Get Ready News. I'm Mark Lindsted. This is my brother David Lindsted, and we're here to talk about things we see in the news and where they might be found in the Bible. And to tell you, the news has been hopping the last few weeks here.
Absolutely. It's been a roller coaster ride, up and down, all sorts of things coming out on the political spectrum as far as things that are happening here, preparing for the election, and then things happening over in the Middle East. It's just been a roller coaster.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing so many different countries in the news like we do now. I mean, I always saw turmoil in the Middle East. There was something happening here or there, but I don't recall ever seeing major countries, what I would call major countries like Iran, attacking another major country like Israel. It's always been some little guys trying to squirmish or some sect of Islam trying to overthrow Jewish, but now we're starting to see some real major players come at this.
Yeah, there's been nothing but proxy wars for quite a while. And now all of a sudden the major players are actually stepping up and becoming more and more a part of the conflict.
Yeah. Well, we're all very aware of the current ongoing war between Hamas and Israel. And of course, now we see Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon, starting out to work into that. But this week we saw a major power, Iran, actually come against Israel.
That blew me away. I didn't have any idea that would ever happen. I thought that Iran would continue to go through a proxy and just supply Hamas and Hezbollah, and it just shows you how fast we are progressing in this time frame that we're looking at.
Yeah. Well, probably the most interesting thing for me was to see how our White House responded to this. And I saw Uncle Joe, we'll call him that, I don't know what else to call him, crazy Uncle Joe, told Benjamin Netanyahu that, well, nothing of value was really hit, so you should call this a win.
Yeah, just the way he was trying to suppress the Israeli nation and tell them, don't respond, don't do anything. I even remember back to October 7th and how they really wanted Israel to do nothing. Yeah. And I think that it's a show of weakness if Israel does nothing. Israel has to respond. If they don't respond, it's just going to keep happening.
Well, I look at this, and I don't know. I haven't studied to see what the casualties or any of that nature was, but I know that some things did hit. And to say that nothing of value, I mean, what does this say about our president? Does he place any value on Israel and the people there?
I don't know. I think that if it wasn't for the people of the United States supporting Israel as a whole right now, I think that we would abandon them as a government. I think the only reason Biden pays attention is because we still have a majority of people in government that care about Israel. If it wasn't for them, I don't think he would care one way or the other.
I look at it this way. I live in a cul-de-sac. And let's just imagine that my neighbor to the north and my neighbor to the south and my neighbor to the east took guns and started shooting at my house, just blasted through my house. And they said, oh, but you all got down on the ground and you didn't get hurt. Nothing of value was taken from you. Call it a win. It's a win.
Yeah, that's just ludicrous. How can you do that? How, as a sovereign nation, how can you allow that to happen and not have a response?
Yeah.
But yet I look at the United States right now, and I look at the southern border, and we are doing nothing there. We are doing what we want Israel to do. And I think that that's going to come and bite us in the rear quickly in the end here.
Well, I think this lends itself, as we see in the end times, of the one world government, one world religion, one world currency. They want to eliminate borders. The global powers want to eliminate borders so they can be a oneness.
Yeah, they tried to do that over in the European Union where they joined all those together and there was no borders, but there still is borders in between there, But I think this is the progression we are making. We are heading toward a one world government. We see that America is bowing to the UN, to other places, and we're not leading like we used to.
No.
We used to be a leader, and now we have Joe Biden up here who is just a figurative head that doesn't really do anything. In fact, one of the guys I like watches calls him John Biden, the resident of the United States, and just kind of cracks me up.
Well, I tell you, Yeah, it's silly to say this maybe out loud, but in my mind, I look at Weekend at Bernie's. I think of Joe Biden as just this floppy old man with no brain
Yeah.
that we're holding up. The people, the puppet masters, are holding him up, and hey, go out there real quick and say this, but don't say anything else because we know you go off the rails and you don't know what you're talking about.
We were talking earlier where they showed two videos. One video where Biden went to a fast food restaurant and was going to make an order. Well, they showed a video of the before.
Yeah.
And here is the before, and they're setting up the script. The food's already made. He's going to give you a tip, and you're going to do this, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then they stage it, and he walks in, and he immediately turns to the side. And you know his handlers are going, no, just remember the script. Just go forward, And then the next one, they show Trump, and it's 100% different.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of what you think with Trump, at least his faculties are together.
Yeah.
And he's not a controlled person the way Joe is.
I think they're the same age.
Pretty close. I think Trump's a couple of years younger, but close enough to say they're the same age.
Yeah, and to see the difference in interaction and cognitive ability is amazing to me.
And that's just the difference between genes and life.
And I'm not saying that anything other than the fact that I just don't think he's fit to be there.
I agree with that. And my mom used to always say that it was elder abuse what they're doing to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they are probably putting some stimulant in him to get him going and to make him be out there kind of like a dancing chicken on a hot pan.
Sure. Well, one of the things that came out of this also was the fact that I think we can see as we understand that America has helped and a few other countries have helped protect Israel, I think we can still see the hand of God protecting Israel. Because if you look at this next slide here, we talk about the Iron Dome, which we sell to Israel, comes out of the U.S., and it says it's 99% effective against the Iranian strikes.
Isn't that just phenomenal? Who thought in my lifetime I would see a missile be able to hit another missile out of the sky? And we've even seen one that was kind of a laser-based thing where it was hitting it with lasers and knocking them out of the sky. Just phenomenal.
I think that this being our technology built in the United States, I think what I've heard, and I don't know if I can confirm it, is that we're only about 80 to 85% efficient with it. But this is what the Israeli people do.
Yes.
I remember talking to some of my friends there that are in the IDF and some guys that were past pilots and whatnot. He says, oh yeah, we love your F-16s. We buy your F-16s. And then we rip out all the avionics and everything. We put our own in. And they were wondering how they could fly better and do better than we can in our own aircraft.
Oh yeah, I remember back when our uncle was doing prophecy teachings clear back in the 80s, and we had some declassified information. And here they were pulling out our stuff and putting in a new targeting system. They could, back in the 80s, it was a phenomenal that you could target something. They could target two things at one time, and it was just fantastic things that these guys have been able to come up with.
If you think about being 99% effective, I didn't think I'd ever see where we would see one country be able just to basically stop all the missiles from another country. But it didn't stop the hatred, and it didn't stop the intention. And there needs to be an answer. I mean, you look at what they really did here. What did Iran actually do? They launched 30 cruise missiles toward Israel. You say, well, 30, what is that? Well, a cruise missile, what it is, it's got powered flight from beginning to target.
Right.
And it delivers a high-capacity payload of either conventional explosives or nuclear weapons.
Absolutely. These are not just little toys. These aren't just little things that people are shooting little rockets in the sky. These are major missiles. These are things that we use.
Well, look at this right here. Here's a semi or a tractor trailer, whatever part of the country you're from. You call it 18-wheeler.
Yep.
Look how large this missile is. And this comes out of its trailer.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like some little bottle rocket.
Absolutely not. This is real ammunition. This is real stuff. This is not just someone building a bomb in their basement.
Yeah.
And we looked at that before where they were ripping out sewer lines and they were making these bombs and these missiles, but those are the ones that they shoot off and blow up their own stuff with.
Yes. Yeah.
These are real munitions. These are something real.
And lest you think that it was just 30, we look at this. There's 120 ballistic missiles. And these aren't small either. That's a trailer also. This is a tractor trailer or a truck and trailer or an 18-wheeler that holds the launcher for this thing.
Then again, we're coming back. This is real military grade stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they're shooting our technology at Israel.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing how we seem to supply both parts of the war, both sides. You know, it makes you wonder: are we in it for the money, or are we?
War is a great business.
Yeah.
Well, and then you look at what a ballistic missile can do here, and it's basically what a ballistic missile does is it's got powered flight until it gets close to its target, and then it uses gravity to deliver the payload. It drops it over the top. But we're talking payloads that are high intensive explosives, and it says it can do chemical weapons and biomedical weapons and nuclear payloads and high capacity explosives, things of that. And they had 120 of these shot at Israel.
That's an extreme amount. You think about the size of Israel.
Yeah.
Israel's only about, 8 miles wide at some point.
Yeah.
And I think you can drive from top to bottom within about 5 or 6 hours across the whole state. 120 of these, that's an immense amount for the size of that area. You think about United States, you can drive in Texas for 12 or 13 hours and still be in Texas.
Yeah.
No one understands that as far as you get into the Middle East. This is a huge amount of missiles.
Yeah, it's enormous, and to think of what all the payloads of these might have been. I mean, right now it may have just been conventional explosives. I don't know any different than that, but we know Iran is now capable of processing nuclear material,
Absolutely.
enriching uranium, and when are they going to send something over that even if you blow it up in the sky, it emits an EMP?
Exactly. They have the technology to make what we would call a dirty bomb.
Yeah.
Where it may not be a Hiroshima explosion, but it's still going to be disastrous because it's going to drop radioactive material everywhere.
Well, now we're not only talking about these 150 missiles, though. There was also 170 drones. Now, I want you to understand what these drones are. We're not talking the little four fan bladed thing that you fly with your camera on it that maybe they hooked a grenade to it and sent it over.
Yeah.
This thing is called the Gaza drone of all things, has a 68-foot wingspan.
Yeah, I think they're poking fun over here. They're naming it Gaza to try to well up sympathy for them and empathy for them.
Yeah.
But when I think of drones, the first thing I think of is, like you said, that little tiny thing with the 4 little props on it, and I think, well, shot down 170 drones. But then you look at this, and then you realize that these things can actually carry a payload.
Yeah.
This is the type of drone that I think Obama sent over and took out a family with.
Yes. This is very close to that same drone. In fact, you talk about payload. Payload for this drone is actually 13 precision-guided bombs.
Wow.
So we're talking, not only did you have 150 missiles, you had over 2,200 precision-guided bombs that were on their way to Israel or made it to Israel, but were taken out before any damage could be done.
I would assume that the way that this Iron Dome worked, it probably shot these missiles and things down before they even had a chance to deposit their payloads.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. And when we start talking about this war, I know we mentioned before, we said, well, is this the Gog-Magog war? Is this the beginning of that? What is going on here? Well, just so you can be sure that while we're tying this together, we see that people here like Saudi Arabia, other Gulf states, have said that they are providing intelligence on the Iranian attack to Israel to help them.
That really got me. It was like, for them to all work together. It was only 10 years ago, I would have never dreamed possible that Saudi Arabia would be involved in helping Israel out, providing them with information, providing them with actual support.
Yeah.
It just blows me away that the Bible is so accurate
Yeah.
that it puts Saudi Arabia on the side of Israel and on the side of the West through this whole conflict.
When I was a kid, you couldn't have said Saudi Arabia in a nice light.
No.
It was all the Middle East. All but Israel was bad.
Yep.
And now we're looking at these guys coming out. In fact, it shows here in this next one that says Arab state unexpectedly helped Israel fend off the attack. So not only did they give them intelligence, they actually shot down some of these things.
It just shows you how history is already written in the Bible. We call it futuristic prophecy, but it's already written down as if it has already happened. And like we were talking about earlier, all of these components that come together for the Gog-Magog war are aligning themselves together. All of those countries that are said to go into Israel for a spoil are becoming friends, and they're working together. And all those countries that sit back and say, "What are you doing?" are all working together. This is unfathomable. We wouldn't have thought this 10 years ago.
Well, you're talking about Ezekiel 38:13, where it says, Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish, with all their young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, Thou art come to take a spoil. And they're kind of puzzled. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And from this, you think that this means that they're really not involved. So maybe the involvement we see here doesn't mean this is the Gog-Magog war. This just may mean we're in a pre-existing condition where these lines are drawn with people.
I think that we're setting up for this Gog-Magog war. And I think right now it's okay to help Israel. But I look as we move down history here, down through the ages, the support for Israel is waning in different places. And I think it's going to come to a point to where you can't come and help Israel unless the whole world thinks that you're a Zionist, that you're evil.
So you think that maybe this is talking of a time when they say, why are you doing that? But they don't help because they're worried that everyone will come after them next.
Exactly. I think this is them sitting back and not getting involved in it, and which also makes them, the other ones, more bold to go ahead with their plan.
Sure. Well, I looked at this and I said, when has this happened before? I didn't. But then I realized I had done very poor research. Because really, if you look back to this article here, it says that Saudi Arabia has actually shot down a Houthi missile on October 26th headed for Israel. So we need to be aware. We need to be studying the news.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing to find out who is on whose side and who you can trust. I don't know that you can still trust Saudi Arabia. Don't misunderstand that at all, because you never know what's going to happen.
Sure.
But what just flabbergasts me is the alignment of all the nations are coming together. We still see one that's kind of an outlier that I think is going to come over into the fold, and that would be Germany. Gomer still has to become part of this horde.
Yep.
We don't know what's going to happen. We know there's gas issues over there, energy issues over there, and it still makes me laugh every time I see where President Trump told the Germans, you need to find better than just one place to get your gas, and especially from Russia. And then they laughed at him, and it just wasn't very long later. They're reeling from it because it's so expensive. And
well, and I can see exactly, in my opinion, I can see exactly how I think Russia is going to bring Gomer into the fold, or Germany into the fold. You know, it talks about there in Ezekiel 38, verse 6, it talks about Gomer coming in. And we saw that they have trouble with their gas.
Yep.
And I think that Russia, you know, it talks about taking a spoil. One of Dr. Lindsted's favorite things to do is to take the SP off of spoil. It says they're coming to take oil.
Yep.
And as Germany struggles with its energy, I can definitely see Russia saying, okay, I know we have problems in the past, but if we go to Israel right now, I know there's oil, and I know there's a massive natural gas fields.
Huge.
And one of our friends, Hezbollah, has already been given one of the fields. Maybe we should just go take it.
Yeah, the amount of natural gas is unfathomable. They have so much energy resources there. And we also talked to another guy that's doing a Copper Scrolls project, and there are billions of dollars worth of treasure that we believe in Qumran. So there's so many different spoils to take.
Well, and those treasures could even be the treasures of Solomon.
Oh, yeah.
It's unfathomable how much is there.
You know, you look at the economy, the economical state of the entire world. Yeah, it's bad in America. It's bad everywhere. China's borrowing as much money as we're borrowing to make things ends meet. And you know, Russia's got to be too. And to come in and have that amount of gold and riches to offset what's going on would be massive.
Here's my question. I've heard for many years that we're borrowing money from China to keep our economy going. Now, if China's borrowing money, where are they borrowing money from?
That's a good question.
Where does all this money get borrowed from?
That is a good question.
I think it's all just printing money and making it up.
I think that's exactly what's happening. And I think that's what's really put us into a bad way is if we need some money, we just go turn on the little printer, print it up, and spend it.
I'm to the point now where I don't even think we're really in national debt. I think they just say we are to keep taking money from us.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's an extreme opinion. Don't get me wrong. I know we've borrowed money from other countries, but it just seems like a fallacy. I mean, the number's so large, does it even matter anymore?
Right. Oh yeah. I think someone did the figures, and we each owe a quarter of $1,000,000 each, or something. You know, if you're born in this world, you're already $70,000 in debt, or something like that.
It's ridiculous.
But I don't know why we get taxed if we're just going to print it.
Yeah. Well, you know, if every country's borrowing money from somewhere, how about we all just say, Chapter 7.
Yeah.
I'm bankrupt. I don't need it anymore. And we move on. But anyhow,
I think that's the push. That may be the push that puts us into the global economy. Is
the Great Reset.
You know, the Great Reset that supposedly didn't exist, that Klaus Schwab is talking about, and they're already ready for that. They welcome that. They want that to happen so they can step in and help.
Well, another thing I want to talk about today is something that I know we see happening in the end times, and it's very important that we kind of verify this, that we continue to look at it. I think it's 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verses 1 through 3, and it says, I beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken or be troubled, neither in spirit nor by word nor by letter as from us, as in the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for the day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And I think what we're talking about here is the apostate church. I think we're seeing a great falling away from God, and I think we can see a lot of that happening in our times right here. I go over to 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. It says, now the Spirit speaketh expressly, now, but in the latter days shall come, now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith. And we're talking about people that might be of the church, but not really of the church.
Right.
And they'll be given into seducing spirits and doctrines of demons. And where this comes up is I saw that there was a men's conference in Missouri.
Wow.
And this men's conference to strengthen men had a pole dancer. I'm sure that somebody thought, well, this will show the amazing strength that's in the male body. But how would you ever put this on a high altar in front of everybody and have him perform an immorals type of dance? How is this anything that should have been done in a Christian men's conference?
I don't know. I've seen all sorts of craziness. I mean, we're leading up to what is called the church and is not the church.
Yeah.
The craziness. I saw one that was holding church in a bar. I saw one where they actually invited a Muslim into the church on a Sunday morning to discuss the commonalities between the two religions.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could call those real churches.
Yeah.
And you know, as much as I don't think that the real church can be apostate. I think that fake churches are apostate type churches.
Exactly.
And I think that the scripture over in 2 Thessalonians is more of the whole mankind is going to be apostate. They're going to leave God so much, the entire world except for the remnant.
Well, it says in 2 Timothy 3, and it talks about men are going to be without natural affection. They're going to be high-minded. They're going to think more of themselves than anything else. They're going to worship themselves and the creation more than the Creator. And what we're seeing there is this happening right in front of our eyes. And thankfully, one of the men came forward and said, this is wrong.
Yeah.
This is wrong. And the problem is that, so the pastor of the church came to the man and said, you've done this wrong. You can't publicly tell people I did this wrong. Well, I don't know about that. I think if you've publicly done something against the church and against God, that you should be reprimanded publicly.
Well, I agree, and that's the way you're supposed to come and talk to them in private first. You're supposed to approach them this way. But whenever something's done like this in public, it needs to be reprimanded in public. And one of the guys that I really admire was Jimmy DeYoung, before he passed away. And he was going to go and share a stage with somebody that he didn't know until after he accepted. And he says, I don't have a problem coming here and speaking, but if that person brings up something that's not right, from that stage, I will refute them.
Yeah.
Right there.
I think of guys like our uncle, Dr. Lindsted, and Dave Hunt. They were on the conference speaking tour together many times. And we've had, he was telling me just this last weekend while we were in Canada at a conference, he said, well, I can remember a man came and talked about some Calvinistic things and some problems with rapture and whatnot like that. And Dave Hunt got up on the stage and says, well, this wasn't my subject, but you've tied my hands. This is now my subject. And I'm going to correct every lie that was said up here.
And I think that has to be done.
Yeah.
If you don't correct those things and you don't say to somebody, this is wrong, then it becomes accepted.
Yeah.
You know, if the man that was here doesn't come out and say this is wrong, then people assume that he agrees with this.
Well, the problem happened later now. He came back on stage with this pastor and apologized for rebuking him. And that's the problem. That's the apostate church. That's the untrue church. You hear of people that are Republicans in name only. Well, now we're seeing Christians in name only.
Exactly, and I think we've been that for a long time in this country. I think you would be shocked to find out how many real Christians are here.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot smaller than you've ever dreamed.
I hear people all the time, well, I don't know if Jesus would have handled it that way. Well, I can tell you what way he handled one thing. He walked into the temple and started throwing things out.
He wouldn't stand for sin. You know, Jesus approached sin head on.
Yeah.
And he wasn't an evil person. He wasn't a bad person, but he told it exactly what it was. But what he was a forgiving person.
Yes.
And he came this first time, to save the world.
Yep.
But guess what? He's coming next time to judge the world.
Yes. The world has been judged by water already.
Yep.
It's time to be judged by fire.
Exactly.
And he's going to separate the sheep and the goats, and he's coming to judge what rightfully should have been judged in the first place. And he's given us grace to be with him, and we should believe on him as our Savior to be in that grace and to get that mercy. You know, I always heard grace is God's riches at Christ's expense. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I pray today that you have God's riches at Christ's expense. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week.